So hi guys, and welcome back to the Always Wired podcast. We're joined again for part two with professional MMA fighter Ross Cooper.
It's good to be back. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How's life?
Perfect, mate. It's quiet as always.
Is anything new happened since the last time you were on? Like any fight news, stuff like that?
I'm hoping to fight February the 27th on Forza's show. I don't know where it's. Again, I don't know where it's going to be. So much is still up in the air with COVID and everything, isn't it? Like, it's tricky. But I was speaking to Enzo, and he says even if he's not allowed a crowd in, he's going to do the pay-per-view style. But again, I don't know a venue. I'm going to train regardless for it. If the show happens, great. If it doesn't happen, it'll be disappointing. But I don't know. I just feel like something's going to have to give. We've had so much bad luck. We're due some good news, eh? With everything no happening, it's surely time for us for something to start going our way again, eh?
Do you have an opponent in mind? Is it Brad Tanner? Is he step up?
I'd fight. Like I say, I'd be happy to fight him anytime. But I think he'd probably be more of a bigger show type of guy. He's got a big following, and as much as people say it shouldn't matter because it's an elite into the minute, but he's got a very, very big Instagram following. So he's going to want to fight on one of the bigger shows. He's not going to want to come up to Scotland to fight on a regional show. That's going to be like a Cage Warriors job, eh? And that's fine as well. I'd be more than happy to fight him on Cage Warriors. We actually, I think I mentioned this in the last one, we had both messaged the Cage Warriors promotion team and said, look, we've got an agreement here. We're happy to do this. Get in touch. But they're so bogged down with contractual agreements and the fact that they're so far behind on shows. And that's why they're doing 3 nights in the road. You know what I mean? They're doing this trilogy series, aren't they? Like Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, MMA shows. So it's, I don't even know at this stage. I didn't care who it is. You give me a name and I'll be there. I'll make way. I'll be there. I'll be ready. And that's where we're at. But again, coming down to the social media following, we've just seen it all exploding, haven't we, with this? And whatever you want, whatever your thoughts on it, whatever your feelings on it, Jake Paul, I mean, what is he, 14 million Instagram followers or something like that? Like, the reality is when he's got that many eyes on him, this is probably going to happen.
Yeah. But it's that way as well. I think with Jake Paul, I think he's going to be a real example of what happens when you talk shit on the internet to people. Because I think the way he's gone about things, like we see a lot of MMA fighters doing it, but at the end of the day, he's not an MMA fighter. He's not really a pro fighter. He battered a basketball player and KSI's wee brother, but that's kind of about it. But some of the things that he's saying, like talking about McGregor's wife, like that's the kind of shit that's going to end up with folk turning up at your house or at your gym. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, there's a couple of things I think will happen. I think he'll pass by a fighter in the street and act like a UFC or a Bellator fighter, and they'll go, here's my chance to just get like millions of eyes on me. I'm just going to knock him unconscious and just drop him in the street. Just do it. And you would, like, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Because nobody feels bad for the bad guy, because that's who he is. He's wanting to play the villain. So if he's going to, because it's an act. Of course it's an act, right? It's the same as everyone. It's the same as Colby Covington. It's the same. When Colby Covington was getting boomerangs and stuff chucked at him in the street by Fabricio Verdum, nobody was like, oh, what a shame for Colby Covington, because nobody feels bad for the bad guy, eh? So when somebody does decide to go, oh, look, there's Jake Paul, I'm just going to run across and chin him and saying to their mate, video this while I do it. That's how it's going to go down, eh?
It looked like that's what he tried to do with Dylan Dennis. It looked like he was trying to punk him a wee bit, because I think he was on the Food Truck Diaries at the time.
It was.
With Big Brendan Schaub. But fair play, Dylan Dennis, he looked like he wanted it. Like,
Dylan Dennis was game. And what was it, water balloons or something he was chucking at him?
I think so. That's what everyone was saying on Twitter. It was water balloons.
It looked like water balloons and toilet rolls or something.
Which is it's pretty funny when you think about it. But if he's got a bit of patter, he should have probably pished in them first.
That would have been brilliant, eh? That would be quite good. I never even thought of that, to be fair. But as for the thing about McGregor's wife, the first thing anybody's going to say is, well, Conor McGregor slagged Khabib's wife. And he did. He did. Do you know what I mean? Like, all this stuff is fair game, eh? All this stuff is fair game. So long as he's aware, like, it's fair game so long as if someone chins him, or if he walked past Conor McGregor and he knocked him out and went, that's for saying that about my wife. So long as you understand.
That's exactly what could happen. Like, Conor and Khabib, they had that fight arranged, and then Dylan Dennis was saying some of the same stuff, and like Khabib, he launched himself over the ring, and I think that's off the octagon, sorry, and that's the kind of caliber of people you're dealing with. It's no like I feel people try and hold fighters, and I was saying this on Twitter the other day. They try and hold them to a higher moral standing because they look at them like, oh, they're a pro athlete. We should look at them like how we look at fucking Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, but you get paid to punch and kick people in the head. So,
correct.
Mate,
it's happened to me once in my life, right? So what happened? I was working, it was back when I was on doors, I was working at a nightclub, right? And me and a friend of mine are standing on the door, me and a guy called Tim Gorman, good mate of mine. Standing at the door, boy came up on his own, could tell he was just a bit of a rocket, knocked him back, try somewhere else, no night. And he said, what's the problem, usual. So he's like, I yank your hard, to me, usual. Yank your hard. And I was like, oh, we're having another one of these ones, eh? And he's like, what's your name? I'm going to tell the manager you knocked me back. I went, I ain't boss. Says, my name's Ross Cooper. Just send an email in or message Facebook page. So he walked over the road. He's on his phone. He came back over and he had my Facebook open. And on my phone, on his phone, he had a picture of my wee lassie. And he was like, that was his phone. And he was like, oh, is that your dot? And the words weren't even out his mouth, eh? And I never even let him finish what he was saying. And in that situation, I just didn't care. Like, if you want to go insult people's families, understand the risk you're taking. Don't think that comes with the risk, eh? Like, I wouldn't insult anyone's unless I thought, oh, it's about to go down. Even if it was like another fighter or something, I wouldn't. If they insulted my family, then that's fine. Theirs is fair game as well, obviously. But I wouldn't come out with that. I wouldn't be trying to say things about family members, eh?
Because that's it. It'll push the wrong buttons in people, and don't be like, if you're going to say stuff like that, don't be shocked when somebody knocks you out. Like, do you know what I mean?
And well, that's where this is going to go. And maybe it's a good thing if it goes there, because then maybe this sort of circus stuff can stop, eh? Because it's not, especially, I don't know, what do you class Jake Paul as? Is Jake Paul an Instagrammer who's become a boxer? Or is he a YouTuber who's become a boxer? Or is he still just a YouTuber? Or is he, what is he doing here? Where's he going?
I think for him to really get that title, a kind of professional fighter, he needs to fight people that are professional. Like, I think there's a difference between being a professional fighter and having a professional license, because that's essentially what he's got. He's got a professional license to fight folk that's career has been in the NBA and maybe had a couple of street fights.
I'm not against him fighting though. I think that's fine, but and the thing is, this is brother, this fight with Floyd Mayweather, and it's just like boxing's giving itself a black eye now, isn't it?
Aye, and it raises the questions like, how skint is Floyd? Surely he couldn't have bumped through the McGregor money that fast.
Well, maybe he's no skint. Maybe he's been insulted and he's just went, who are you talking? Or maybe he just loves the fame. I don't know. Maybe he's just so used to, because like when boxing's your whole life, right? And you're always fighting and you're always preparing for fights and you're always training, and then you stop. Life's probably fairly quiet.
That's true, and that's something I didn't actually think about, because fighting has been his whole life since I weighed him. Like his dad, Mayweather Senior.
His dads, his uncles, like he's been around fighting for as long as he's been walking. He's been around fighting or boxing, I should say. So to then just go, okay, we're done now. There's no going to be much else that he finds that natural. I would think. So maybe he just needs this. That maybe he started to put on weight and get unhealthy, and he's went, do you know what? I need a target. I need something to start making me feel a bit better about myself.
And
I don't know.
I don't think there'll be many other easy paydays that it'll get you that amount of money, because that's the thing that the Paul boys bring to, well, Paul brothers bring to the table. They bring that fucking mass following, and these, but YouTubers are like fans of YouTube. They'll subscribe and they'll buy that pay-per-view, and they're millions. So it'll
do more pay-per-views than anything's ever done in history. That's mental. And you think like Canelo Alvarez is boxing this weekend, and does anyone even know who he's fighting?
It's interesting to bring that up. It's the same way at Anthony Joshua. Like he was fighting at the weekend, and I don't really think I heard anybody talking about it.
I never heard really any build up to it until the week of the fight. Really, I never heard that much. And I'm an Anthony Joshua fan. I like Anthony Joshua. I like to fight. I watched the fight. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. Out of the heavyweight boxing matches that there've been recently, his has by far been the most entertaining. He's brought the most entertainment to the scene, other than Tyson Fury.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I still think Anthony Joshua is massively popular, but there isn't any like the sort of the mania. There's no like the cult following that I feel like Tyson Fury has. With Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, obviously that's such an anomaly because it's such a spectacle. And like I tuned in and watched it, mate. I enjoyed it. I did it. It
was great.
It was always going to be a draw. I'm shocked anybody was shocked it was a draw. Of course it was a draw. It was good. I liked watching it. We're all needing a break. We're all needing entertained now. We're all needing something to take our mind away from what's going on. Like I always try and maintain quite a positive outlook on everything, but I have never seen social media wise so many people struggling, like flat out putting the hands up saying, it's Christmas time, and by the way, Santa's not coming to my house because there's no money.
Yeah.
I've never seen things as dark as this. In my life, I can't even think of a time when it's been like that. There's a charity. I started following them on Facebook recently. They're called Edinburgh Soup Hamper. And they just started out as basically like making up wee food parcels to help out with people. And in like the last month, it's just exploded. I'm shocked because I didn't know, like I'm mega fortunate. Like I've worked all the way through. There's not been any time off for me. My job was classed as essential, right? I'm not I'm not an NHS worker or anything like that. But my missus, she works at primary school. Her job's essential. She's at work. So we've still got all our wages coming in. All our bills are paid. Our Christmas is taken care of. We are lucky as fuck, but never in my life had I realised there's so many people out there and they've just been flying under the radar because they've maybe just been too embarrassed. I don't know what it is that's stopping them putting the hand up and saying, hey, we're not going to make it. Do you know what I mean? We're not getting to the end. All the bills are not getting paid this month. It's between paying the bills and having a Christmas. And that's horrible. It's awful. So there's a lot of negativity out there now. And if these spectacles, boxing, MMA, be them Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones, or be it talking about Daniel Dubois versus Joyce, it gives people a break for this, because a lot of people now, they seem to just be needing this escape. And if sport can do it, brilliant. If these sort of, I didn't even like calling them sort of circus fights. Like if Roy Jones and Mike Tyson want to fight, who are we to say, no, you can't do that? I liked it and I was glad nobody got hurt.
Yeah, aye. The my only kind of criticism of it was I feel like I get sold a watch by something that I'd seen on Twitter, because it said that Israel Adesanya was going to be commenting. They didn't just specify that was just going to be in America, and I had to sit up to 6 o'clock in the morning listening to fucking David Hay.
Oh, really? So
It's dull as fuck.
did you buy the pay-per-view?
Aye, I was sitting
I
there.
streamed it. I got the illegal stream, eh? So I got Adesanya, Snoop Dogg, and who was it? Sugar Ray.
Oh fuck! Oh no! I had David Hay, the English dude with the shaved head. That's usually it's on MMA a lot.
Aye.
For BT, and I can't remember the other one.
And that what's his name? The Bellator guy, Gareth Davis. Is that his name? With the long hair and the glasses.
Oh no, it wasn't him.
No, but he was at the weekend there. He was at the Anthony Joshua fight. He was like ringside, and they were like, "Oh," and they went and asked him for his piece. He's like, "I think Anthony Joshua needs to just come out and put Pulev away." And I was like, "Jesus Christ, this man's wanting blood tonight." He's a mad one as a commentator. I mean, every time I see him on Bellator, I'm just like, how's he got a job? Do you know what I mean? They're cutting fighters and keeping this guy, but he's mega popular.
Oh,
I think
just
because he's so kind of, I don't know what the right word is for him, but he's a bit obscure, eh?
He's sometimes like an old-fashioned wrestling commentator.
Exactly.
Like, that's the best way to describe him. He's quite a heel, and people love a heel.
They do. They love
a bad guy, but kind of back to what you were saying as well. I think you hit the nail right in the head, where people are really looking for a release right now. Like,
for sure.
Because it's getting to that time of year. Like, this time of year is usually one of the best, like in the social, especially in the social calendar. Because this is the time of year. This is the time of year where you have your Christmas night out for your work. You've usually got you guys going your.
We have a gym Christmas night out.
You're out with your friends catching up, because most people are off work as well. So if he's losing out in that social point, and it's.
I know it's true, eh? Like, where do you catch up with your friends now? Like, I know for me, I always try and put in a few extra shifts early in December so that you're covered for the Christmas time and stuff like that. So you didn't really get to see anybody. And I work over the Christmas and New Year period anyway. But if I get a wee bit of time to myself, like you say, I go on the Hit Squad team night out and stuff like that. But now there's none of that. Like, the gyms no even officially open, really. Do you know what I mean? There's socially distanced classes, of course, because of the restrictions which are still in place. Like, the restrictions are still here, eh? And this is what everyone's forgetting. And I think in the new year, and this is my big worry, I think the restrictions will come back. I think after Christmas and New Year, they're going to bring them in again, eh? I think everybody's going to meet up, mesh together at Christmas and New Year, and they're just going to go, because nowhere's open, so it's only going to be house parties. You're a young guy, it's New Year, you're just going to sit in the house and go, hey, it's 12 o'clock. You're no way. And I'm not asking you to, like, trying to out you and say, what are you doing at New Year? You're just not going to sit in the house.
Aye.
Or you might sit in your house, but 20 of your pals are going to come and sit there as well. And that's the reality. And I didn't care what anyone says. I'm working Hogmanay, so I'll be sitting in this dingy wee train station garage on Hogmanay. So when the bells come in and you're having a wee whiskey, you can think of poor Ross sat here. But and then 2 weeks on, they're going to go, oh, look, our numbers are through the roof again. Of course they are. Do you know what I mean? Because people they're not going to just go, oh, look, it's 12:05 now, I'm away at my bed. And they're going to hit us with more restrictions, and there's going to be no Forza February 27th show.
How would you feel about fighting on pay-per-view? Is that something that would bother you? Like, do you kind of thrive more off the fans?
I fought on a show that had like a crowd of maybe 100 people there before. It's not a big deal. If anything, it's fine for me. I didn't mind at all. I like having the fans. It's nice. That the last time I fought on Forza, it was a massive amount of Scottish Hit Squad fans were there because so many Scottish Hit Squad fighters were on the show. And as well, pretty much everyone else there was from Edinburgh, and so am I. So people do like to get behind a local person, especially like I was fighting a guy from Wales. They're not going to support him, are they? So it was really, to be honest, that was the first time that I've really noticed, felt like, oh, this is like a home crowd. Do you know what I mean? I'd never really clocked it before, but I've fought before in basically an empty arena. It was quite funny when I done it before. It was in the BT studio.
Oh, right, yeah.
In London. And I can remember, just as the referee was about to say, fight, I heard a guy's phone going off in the crowd, and you could actually hear the phone ringing, and I thought, I've never, and you're like away to get down to business. I'd never noticed anything like that before. It was pretty bizarre, but it's not, you're still fighting. Like it doesn't change how I felt in any way. I was still there to do my job. It didn't put me off, and it didn't sort of spur me on at all. I was neither up nor down, so it wouldn't bother me. I'd be happy to do it again. And like I say, I'm just wanting to get going, eh? Like, I don't care. I'm at a stage where I don't care who puts their hand up. You want to fight on February 27th? No problem. I'll be there. I'll make weight. It's not an issue. That's where I'm at with it. And it's what people are. I thought the COVID vaccine was supposed to be, oh, well, the end's in sight, isn't it? But
aye,
we've got this vaccine, I'm not seeing much change.
Because from what I gather as well, there's been a few organisations that have been going down the pay-per-view route, and I think it's been quite successful, because I know Evolution of Combat, they were doing it out of a stable, essentially. That was
I'm sure I've seen on Facebook, I think it's March. I can't even remember if it's Evolution of Combat or like MMA Battle Arena it's called, but they're planning another type of that show for March in Scotland. You want to message them? I'll have to go and dig that up actually and find it, but I do remember seeing that. Oh, excuse me. Falling asleep here. I've had a solid week of night shifts. I'm done in.
That's fine.
Aye. But it's good that shows are actually saying, well, hang on a minute. Our business model shouldn't be impacted. Like, is there another way to go around this? Now, of course, they're not going to make as much money. There's no way. Like, when you've got bodies coming through the door, buying tickets, buying drinks, buying food, buying merchandise, of course, there's going to be, like, if me, you, and our partners want to watch an MMA show, only one of us is going to buy the pay-per-view, and I'm going to come over to your house and watch it, am I not? Aye. So you didn't get 4 tickets, you get 1.
Yeah.
So it's hard. To be honest, I would say a lot of these promoters are probably putting it on as more of a labour of love, knowing that they're gonna lose. But they're going to get tons of fighters putting their hands up. And because everyone's training, mate.
For what I gather as well, they were making the fighters take like £30 out of their purse to cover the COVID tests.
Oh, really?
I'd
heard that actually. Aye, you're right. You're right.
Scott Malone, it was telling me, because he fought on it. He won the championship.
That's right. Aye.
Back in September, and that's what he was saying going forward. He doesn't understand. Like, that's what more organisations should be doing, just to kind of cover it. Like, because most fighters, to get, as sad as it is that you're taking money off a fighter, like, for them to actually fight, they probably would take £30.
Oh, I'd pay. Listen, don't be like. Up until a certain level, fighting costs you money, eh? Yeah. And people find this hard to believe. Mate, I fought on Cage Warriors and it cost me money. I never made any fucking money. Like, don't be like, my purse barely covered my travel, and I got a few nights there in London, and that was it. I didn't even go out. I had some the night after the fight. I had a couple of drinks in the hotel bar and went to my bed. I was knackered. So it just covers your travel, and that's it. And you're not like, they paid my blood tests. There was like a bit of dispute after about the eye. Like, I had to get an eye test because I've had a type of laser eye surgery that had to get a yes for a doctor, and there was a lot of hoops they jumped through for them. So it wasn't cheap, eh? But it's not like we're doing this for money. And if Enzo turned around to me and said, "No, by the way, look, I can't pay you, and it's going to cost you 30 quid for your COVID test," I'll still pay the 30 quid to get the. I'd be like, 30 quid, not a problem, because it's on my doorstep anyway. It's only, do you know what I mean? Like, well, if it's going to be wherever it is, anywhere it is in Edinburgh, it's only 30 minutes from my house anyway, so it's not a problem. So if somebody said to me, "You've got to pay 30 quid for your COVID test," no bother, I'll pay that now. That's not a problem. We have got to start getting moving, eh? Getting something happening here. We can't have another year of this.
No, absolutely not, because it's, at the end of the day, it's you guys that suffer, because as you were saying on the last show, like, you're hitting your prime. Now there's only so many years you can be a fighter, and it's as if you've been robbed a year of your
Lost a full year. Lost a full year now. Like I'm 32 in 6 weeks. I'll put it this way, by the time this Forza show rolls round, I'll be 32. So yeah. You're starting to get up against it and up against it and up against it, and it's frustrating. And I hate to bang on about COVID and moan about COVID, and I'm sick of COVID, eh? I'm fed up with it now. And see, if I want to take the risk of catching it, just leave me alone to take the risk of catching it, eh? Just leave me alone. Like, I'm no bothering you, don't bother me. I wear my mask when I go to the shop. What else can I do? What else can I do? It's a tough one.
It certainly is, because you were saying as well that the year before, I think it was, well, obviously 2019, I was getting mixed up in my head there. That's just a year that you get pull out after pull out after pull out. So,
aye. And that was worse though, because at least now I know. At least now you know, like, no fights. Because nobody's getting fights. I can't think of anybody in the gym who's fought this year outside of a Bellator or a UFC. It's not happening. What do you do?
Have you said many fighters are up and coming fighters that have chucked it this year?
No. Nobody's chucked. Nobody that I know has chucked it. You've got to watch what you say, but I know that guys are training. People are putting work in. They've made arrangements. They've set up home gyms. They've set up the equipment they need to get the results they need to. Because, you know, like, human beings are resourceful people. If the gym's shut, that's right, we're just going to do something else. We're not going to sit in the house. I'm not just going to sit in the house and hide. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to improvise and find ways I can still train and ways I can still... And the guy messaged me the other day. I'll no name him, obviously, but I've matted out my whole garage. Got a pile of guys coming over to train. Do you want to come over and train? Aye, I'll come train. I've not been over yet, but what's it got to do with anybody what I'm doing? That's the thing. I'm choosing to still train. It's not going to affect me, and this is where I start to go off and start to moan and start to get pissed off. But I do get annoyed because, like, people are just still so worried about it, and this is my fear, is that the hysteria is still there. And is this hysteria going to transfer over into 2021, and they're going to go, "Oh my God, the cases have surged again 2 weeks after Christmas and New Year," which of course they will. And then they're going to shut everything back down again. And like, how long are we going to keep doing this?
It's that way as well. A lot of businesses, it's not sustainable. A lot of gyms, it's not sustainable to kind of dangle that in front of them. Like, you just can open for 3 weeks, because I'm in Western Bartonshire, and we were just putting a 3 week lockdown.
Aye, so was that. I live in West Lothian. West Lothian was the same. So like, all the gyms, everything shut. And people go, you can just go outside running every day. I do that on top of training for MMA. So like, I didn't run every day, by the way. I absolutely don't run every day. I started during the 3 weeks. I was not running 10 miles. I was probably running 2 to 3 miles a day, but always trying to cover 10 miles. And if you didn't believe me, look on my story, because I post it all up on my story. But just try to cover 10 miles between training, working, and walking my dog. Right, 10 miles. It takes quite a portion of your day, but that's what you've got to do, eh? And to not be able to do your normal training routine on top of that, it's, you know, it's very annoying. Like, our gym's opened back up there on Saturday morning. And you go back, I've been back to the gym this week a few times. Every time you go, full, middle of the day. I train the middle of the day because I work at night. I train for sort of anywhere between 11 a.m. and 12:30, right? You'll see me at Exercise for Less in Livingston. It's mobbed. It's no like people aren't going like, oh man, you've got to keep away from the gym because you could. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. Everybody's wanting to train. Everybody, and you didn't have to be a pro athlete to go like, hey, I'm needing this. I need this. This is my daily release. Eh? This is what I'm doing. So, and there's old boys. There's an old boy I talked to, really nice guy, 70-year-old. He's in that gym more than me. I see him every day of the week. He's in that. If I've never been to that gym in the morning and not seen him. And he's 70-year-old. And that's why he's not shitting himself with COVID, because he's healthy. He's taking care of himself. He's not got to worry. So he's not like rippling with abs or anything like that. But he's doing a bit. He's throwing some weights about. He's doing some cardio. He's making sure everything's still in working order. And fair play to him. And like, who's anyone to take that away from him?
No, absolutely. And it's that way. Like going to the gym. That's a great. It releases endorphins into people's brains, and it's a way a lot of people cope with their mental health. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I presume that's how some people get involved with MMA as well, because it's a great release. So
sure.
If you're taking that away, then people's mental health at the end of the day is just going to suffer. Because
massive. I had a few people messaging me there, and I don't know why they turn to me. I don't know why they see me as. So I had a wee rundown on my story saying, look, if your mental health is in danger, don't come to someone like me. Go to a doctor, because I'm only going to. My advice is always very like black and white. Like, what are you doing everything you can to make sure you feel better? That's it. That like, and I feel bad saying that to some people, but like, are you taking all the steps necessary to give yourself a fighting chance against this? Like, I know guys, mate, who they train religiously, they eat clean. You know, they don't drink, they don't use any substances, and they've still got depression. They need help. Like,
yeah,
you know, they need that additional help. But there's some people out there, like, they haven't even taken on one of them. They want to play the mental health. I didn't want to say play the mental health card. That sounds bad, because there's so many people out there that are really struggling. But my concern is there's people out there who could be helping themselves, and they're holding up treatment. Like, the NHS is in fucking tatters, eh? And these people who could do more to help themselves, and maybe they would start to feel better, and they could help people who are mega toiling. Like, you've got people in the absolute depths, and they will just not put their hand up and say, hey, I need help. And that's what, like I say, I'd had a few people message and getting in touch. And my first thing I'll always say is go and see the doctor, but make sure you're training, make sure you're eating better, make sure you're staying off the gear. It's the same message, eh? Like, I'll always give that message. So I never really jump on like this. The gyms need to be open for people's mental health. They absolutely do, but it's not just that. It's such like a broad variety of reasons they need to be open. And like, I like stats, I like facts, figures, numbers. Transmissions aren't coming for the gym. They're not coming for the gym. It's not like 1.7% of cases are coming for the gym. It's coming for the school, mate. It's for the school. My two kids are at school. My daughter's at nursery and my son's at primary school. I'm up there every day. I'm at that school every day. My missus drops them off. I pick them up. That's the routine. Both of us are. And then my missus works in a school. She, not the same one, she goes to another school. What do we do here? Like, I could rant about it all day. And I would.
Because the advice you're giving, I know a lot of people might not like it, but I can only speak for personal experience, and I think you're spot on. Because
I'm speaking for personal experience. I'm saying that's what worked for me. I'm not saying it'll work for you. I'm saying this is what worked for me. Drag yourself out of bed, get your running shoes on, and do something about it. Or go to the doctor then, because you can't just keep saying, I feel terrible, I feel like shit, and then keep putting shit into your body, keep taking gear, keep eating terrible food, keep hanging about with the same cunts who make you feel depressed. Spend your whole day scrolling on social. How many people do you know who are saying they feel terrible and this is their full day? Scrolling. Give yourself a fighting chance.
No, that's absolutely spot on. A lot of people might not like to hear it, but I think a lot of the time it does take a bit of personal reflection and seeing what choices you're making in your life, and then maybe just altering some of the choices, and you'll feel a million times better. Because like when the whole thing with COVID came, I started fucking freaking out because I was a lot bigger than what I am now, and I started oh fuck, I was shit, like kind of anything can happen that can come round the corner. So I downloaded like a simple app called Couch to 5K. It's for essentially folk that don't run. So then you just do like wee intervals and then you build up to running a 5K. And since I started that during lockdown, I feel about a million times better. So it's spot on.
And the thing is, I'm not being horrible, and I'm not saying, well, if you feel depressed, fuck you, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and that's not what I'm saying. I'll help you, by the way. I'll be the first person to help you. But the only advice I can give you is what I've done. I can only say, well, see when I go and I run 3 mile and I sprint the last 500 meters there and I'm absolutely burst standing at my front door, slaving and all doing myself, pouring with sweat because I'm done in. I didn't have time to think about feeling bad or coronavirus. And again, like I didn't have the same, like I was saying earlier there, I didn't have the same worries a lot of people have got. And I'm mega, mega grateful for that. Like I didn't have money, so fortunate, I didn't have money worries at the back of my head. I didn't have to say how we paying for Christmas. If I was, things might be different. If there's people out there got these problems, I'm not your guy to come to because I didn't have the, like, you have to go to people who've went through it as well. There's no point just reaching out to someone who doesn't know what the solution is, Like, if you don't know what the solution is, how can you tell somebody? You can't, and this is where we get so much of this, like, depression is a weakness and poor mental health is a weakness. It's not a weakness, it's something that happens. But in my opinion, in my experience, there's a system to beat this. Not necessarily beat it, make it much better. But again, like COVID's kicking people's arse, mate. It's no a normal, and I say COVID, the implications of COVID, the losing jobs, shutting gyms, people's businesses, like, I don't know. Like I say, I didn't, I thought we were through it there. I thought this was it, finished now. I thought we were going to head into Christmas and in 2021, COVID was just going to be a memory, but I didn't think so now. I think this is going to be an ongoing theme. Because I just saw the news today, the new strain and
the new strain that's developing down in London, and it's like it's mutating or something. It's just I think there's only so long you can close the country down, start the country back up and continues like that before the effects are almost irreversible.
Or before people just go, nah, I'm not doing it.
I
think that's what Scotland's done, to be honest. I think here, people are not doing it. I know lots of people, they didn't. I visit people. You know what I mean? My dad's nearly 60-year-old. I visit my dad.
And it's that way as well. Like, folk try and judge you for making decisions like that. Like my dad lives by himself. Like, what's my dad supposed to do? Sit for a year himself? Like, no.
Well, that's nearly been a year. So, like, are you telling me at Christmas time you're not to go and see your old man and drop off some presents? Or what? You're going to fucking push them through the letterbox and he's going to spray them all with Dettol and then he can open them. Fuck them off. Like, anyway, let's move on for this because everybody's going to get depression listening to this podcast.
I know. But one of the questions that was coming up after we had you on is, what's your favourite training method?
To do with what? For like MMA?
Yeah. We'll go with that. We'll go with that, and then we'll just say in general.
Everyone picks. I would say everyone picks sparring. Everyone. The room's always busy on a sparring night. But to be honest, I like to spar quite a lot, so long as it's not going too bad. When there's different levels to the sparring. When people have got fights coming up, and when people didn't, it's a different thing. You know what I mean? There's a different level, a different intensity. That's quite a big question, actually. It's hard to answer. Like, I love all types of training as well. Like, even some days, was it yesterday morning, get up, nipped into exercise for less. I was a wee bit pushed for time. I'd slept in. I probably only had about 40 minutes. And I just done a blast on the stepper, a blast on the cross trainer, and some abs, and up the road. Felt brilliant. Do you know what I mean? The day before that, I think I'd gone in for a bit of traditional gun workout, bit of biceps, bit of triceps, and up the road. Like, my training varies hugely. I've said to you before, and if you follow Instagram, you'll see the sort of outdoor training on the big set of steps. I love doing that. So I try and go with quite a diverse, but I'll tell you what, I hate running. Running is it's my absolute worst. And I've been trying to force myself to run and run and run. But without a doubt, it's my least favourite. And it's most there's no getting around it. You've got to do it. You've got to do it,
Because when I was running in this, like, it was in the summer, I was doing this most. I was making the mistake of taking my dog with me.
Right.
And it's like, see, when you run with your dog and you're like pissing a sweat and you're panting, and he's fine walking beside you.
Mate, my dog is the exact same. I've been taking my dog, and like, I'm running along. I look like I've just run a marathon. I've probably only ran a mile. And my dog's just like trotting along at the side, looking about. What's going on here? Are you all right? Just so, I take the dog some days. What I do where I live, I walk out. So I walk maybe a mile to an area. It's like an old sort of cycle path right through the middle of Livingston. There's no roads to cross, nothing like that. It's all woods. So I maybe see the occasional dog walker, but if I'm running, the dog just runs along beside me. So I didn't bump into anyone. Dog's no in danger crossing the road or anything. And I just run out for a mile and a half, run back for a mile and a half, and then walk the rest of the way home. And I've been doing that, and it's not too bad. It's all right. But fucking hell, like, some days I've just no got it in me. You're running along, my big 105 kilo fucking feet slapping off the ground, and you're just like, this is so sore, eh? And I see guys, mate, some of the young guys at Hit Squad going out on 10-mile runs and things like that, and I just think, how do they do this? How do they run for 10 miles? How does the boredom not just destroy them? Because I hate it. I can't stand it. But to the people who can just shut off, and just grind it out, fair play to them, mate. It's a no for me.
So I think hearing you kind of being so open and honest about your kind of training regimes, that might be quite reassuring to people at home as well. Like, there'll be a lot of people in the same kind of situation that go, I can't be fucked with running, I really don't like it. But then hearing like professional athletes like yourself kind of reiterating the same kind of feelings that they have, it might give them a wee kind of motivational boost.
Oh, mate, listen, there's athletes fighting at unbelievably high levels in MMA who will turn around and say, I hate running. And I've heard them saying it, and they will not, like, they'll run a sort of 4 or 5K as an absolute maximum, and that's it. They're not going above that, Or they'll cycle or use assault bikes rather than run, because it's especially once you get into the heavier weight classes, it's hard to run, I'll tell you another one, people who are already maybe overweight running, like, the pressure they're putting on their knees is enormous. It's not good to just constantly, like, boom, 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 feet impacting the concrete non-stop, running up roads. It's hard going, mate. I get sore feet, sore calves, my Achilles hurt, everything. My feet are sore than now. I've got my shoes off and everything, and sat with my feet up because the soles of my feet are hurting. So what can you? It's the same. That's why yesterday. Was it yesterday? I doing in the gym, bit of stepper, bit of cross trainer, took the pressure right off them. Felt brilliant. It was good.
Because you touched a wee bit on this, the sparring, like that's your favourite thing to do at Pit Squad. I can imagine the sparring there gets a bit competitive because obviously a lot of the guys in there are such high level. That's why he's arguably the best gym in the country. What does it feel like sometimes you're in there sparring? Do you ever get the kind of same rush as a fight night? Like, does it ever feel like that?
Oh, mate, like some sparring sessions in there. I've had loads of sparring sessions that are far tougher than my last 2 fights. Far tougher, yeah. Mate. I'll tell you what, a tough sparring session in there, a tough night, one night could break, yeah. I didn't mean that to sound like we're in there like doing the. You ever seen Floyd Mayweather, the doghouse rounds?
Aye.
Is that what you call it? Type into YouTube Floyd Mayweather doghouse rounds, and you'll just be like, oh my God, is that what's going on? But there's been times where I had. Eh?
Is that a Scottish shoot the box?
I've had times where me personally, I'd let my cardio get to a level that was just unacceptable, and because of that, and that's my cardio's always been a letdown for me, and it's purely a personal, it's a discipline issue, There's no getting around that. Like that's purely on me. There's no excuse for my cardio to be bad. I could go running, and I'm making sure that going forward now we're addressing it. But really, I should have been addressing this a long time ago, and I hadn't been. But there's times where you're in sparring and somebody's got a big fight coming up. You need to be giving this person absolute quality. What I'm not saying knock him out, take his head off, X, Y, Z, but you need to be putting in quality work for your teammate, or you're doing him a disservice, Or you go in there and you're lazy and you just choose to think it's a laugh and fuck about. You're not being a good teammate, A good teammate goes in and works his teammate hard. You've got to make sure your sparring partners worked hard. That's your job, You're not going to help him by inflating his ego and being like, oh, you look brilliant, you look great, and because he's punched you about because you've done half a job. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going in there and giving 100% to your teammates, then you're not a good teammate,
You were kind of touching on it a wee bit there. Does training with the likes of Paul and Chris, does that always allow you to be on your A game? Because
of course,
because you'll probably never face tougher guys on the regional scene than them two. So
never.
They'll let you know when your cardio is kind of below and they pull you up.
For sure. Like, I sell myself short sometimes, I think, because you have a couple of rounds with. I think one of the last rounds I done with Paul prior to the Shogun fight, I went out it and I was just like, fucking hell, that was hard going there, But then you see him jumping into the octagon and putting Shogun away. Now, I'm not saying I was hanging with Paul or anything like that, because he's obviously not going 100%. We're being aware of cuts, we're being aware of injuries, we're being super aware of what we're doing, but we're putting in a high level of work. To then go and see him deal with a legend like that in the way he did, and then like catapult himself into arguably, I would say, the top 10. I think he's sitting at 13 now. But realistically, again, I said this the last time, he's beat Magomed, so he should be ahead of him. And if we were doing it, I seen a breakdown of like strictly on performances. So they weren't doing it the way they did the rankings. I'll try and find it. Brian Gallagher shared it on his Facebook. It had Paul at something like number 9 or number 10 to do with like performances, finishes. That was how they totaled it up. It was a much better method, because really the rankings are just people's opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like really what we should be putting it down to is minutes in the cage per rounds won, per finishes and fights. You know what I mean? So I think being a kind of, I'm not sure if it's 13 or 14 years, but I feel like that's doing him a bit of a disservice. I think he should be higher up than that. So no, it's amazing for me to be able to, like, because I've always got this target to aim up at, haven't I? Like, yeah, this is the standard, This is the standard in this gym. And the same with Chris Bungard, like, this is the standard. pull yourself up to that standard. It's brilliant.
And it's that old saying as well, what iron sharpens iron. So training
100%.
I mean, these really high level guys, it'll rise you to their level. Because if your gym wasn't at their level, and the sparring partners out with Bellator and the UFC weren't near that level, then they wouldn't be performing at that level.
Well, that's it, and that's why Paul's at a stage now where he's got to travel to like Sunderland for 15 minutes work. Do you know what I mean? Like he's doing a 6-hour round trip or whatever it is, doing to Sunderland to go do 3, 4, 5 rounds with guys, because that's how far he's got to go to get in and spar with these other top athletes. It's tough, especially in the heavier weight classes. There isn't the volume of guys.
No.
So for me, I'm in the best position. Do you know what I mean? Because I've only got people above. Whereas Paul's got to really try, if he wants mega pushed, like in the run up to a fight, he's got to travel,
It's the diversity as well that I think you'd be after.
Of course. The different guy, different looks, different styles, real head, like going and sparring with Phil DeFries. I think he weighed in today at about 120 kilos. Like that's 20 kilos heavier than me. So, and he's the KSW world champion. Like he's been in the UFC, he's been in Bellator. He's now putting people away on KSW like regularly. I think he's on, this will be like his 4th or 5th defense. He's a great athlete. So and I've been lucky enough to go down to the gym as well. Like I say, I didn't get anywhere near enough of the work I would love to, but life does get in the way sometimes. There's not a lot you can do about that.
Yeah.
But that's where you've got to go. That's how it's got to be. If you want to get to this level, this is what you've got to be doing. You have to be saying to yourself, right, or I want to go and do 5 rounds with Phil DeFries, right? You've got to go to him. Right, 6 hours in the car then. Simple as that. But it shows when you see these performances in the UFC, burying Shogun, mate. Burying Shogun.
He looked outstanding, and I was watching the fight earlier on because it's been over a month since I've seen it, and I didn't want to say it because I knew, because we spoke about this fight quite a bit in the last podcast, I knew it was something come up. And just to see him manhandle Shogun the way he did, it was, especially in the ground exchanges, it was quite frightening. And I think to a degree, like Paul's out there and he's putting Marcos Nardini's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the map, because he's a guy that I feel is hugely underappreciated, Marcos Nardini, because it's only really us in Scotland that can appreciate him, because there's no many gyms you can go in Scotland that don't have a Marcos Nardini poster on the wall, where he's got some kind of affiliation to them. So I think
the thing is, though, maybe we don't rate our own jiu-jitsu highly enough because we're not Brazilian.
That's
like, why would we automatically assume he's and now he is incredible, by the way. Obviously Shogun's incredible, right? There's no two ways about it. But just being Brazilian's not enough. That's not enough. And a guy like Paul isn't fazed by that. Hey, you might get some people jump in with him and go, oh, you know, it's Shogun Rua, he's won X, Y, and Z. Like, where do you even begin? Where do you begin? Like, you're as well listing what he's no one.
Aye.
And then to top it all off, he's a Brazilian. So you're automatically going to think, oh, man, his jiu-jitsu is going to be incredible. And of course it's incredible. Everybody at that level in the UFC, their jiu-jitsu is incredible. But ours is good too.
I'm sure Shogun's a black belt as well. But he's a Brazilian black belt. And just to see Paul, who's not even received his black belt yet under Marcos, to absolute ragdoll him on the ground, and it was the exchanges, like how he kind of bullied him. It was the butterfly exchange in the first round where he just had that confidence to pull him on top because he knew he'd be able to just roll him like he was nothing.
Seen him do it, and had it done to me in the gym 1,000 times or more. This is the thing, like it was so fun. It was that fight was a typical Paul Craig sparring round, honestly. And it sounds bad to say that, right? It sounds bad to say that, but because you're like, how could you disrespect Shogun? Who are like that? I'm no. my eyes told me what they told me. Paul went in and done what he does. That's exactly how you'll see Paul spar in the gym. Exactly how that fight went. Exactly like that. All the time. So
it was quite interesting that he came out like a traditional Thai fighter. He had that kind of
light on the front leg.
Aye, and he was hitting him with leg kicks, with a head kick in the body.
Mate, he does this in the gym though. This is the thing. Like, he's just not had the chance to showcase. You didn't always get the chances to, like, fighters do their best work in the gym, eh? You don't get to see what they're getting up to. And that's the problem. You'll see him do this stuff in the gym all the time. Like, Paul's got great striking. He just doesn't get the chance to showcase it because he's always submitting people. That's all it is. Because everybody ends up going to the ground to him and he ends up just triangling them. So
it was that way as well. I think the way he was striking, and I think it caught Shogun by surprise. I don't think he expected the striking to be so fluent and maybe as hard as it was, because it seemed like he completely forgot about the takedown because it struck with him for a wee bit and then he just dropped him like it was nothing.
I think in the first fight, definitely. And that's why in the second fight, Shogun was like, fuck, I've been caught out here. I don't know what to do. Like, my striking's not as good. By the way, he threw some good crosses. I seen actually Paul put a picture on his Instagram today, Shogun throwing a big, I'm sure it's a left cross, straight through the middle, right on the chin. It's a cracking shot. So let's not go saying like, hey, Shogun was just an old guy and Paul stepped in and battered him. That's not what happened. Paul was just better than him on the night.
No, absolutely. And the kind of evolution of Paul's been clear for everyone to see. Like, from where he came when he first came into the UFC to where he is now, he's come on leaps and bounds, which is obviously great to see as a fan of Scottish MMA.
And it's a title run tear now, eh?
Aye, because I seen after it, Anthony Smith was calling him out, which I think's a fight that would be great for Paul. It's a fight he can certainly win. He can certainly batter Anthony Smith, but Anthony Smith fought for the title not long ago as well, so he's that big jump that can push you into that title picture. I
like Anthony Smith as well because his attitude to Paul saying, "Hey, Anthony Smith, what's happening?" I liked it. And then Jimmy Manuwa appeared and said, I could beat Anthony. And he just sent Anthony Smith all of the abuse and he brushed him off. So I'm not interested. And it's like he seems like to come across like that type of person. He's just a normal guy who loves to fight, loves what he does. Don't be abusing him. Don't be talking to him like he's shit, because he's no shit. And Jimmy Manuwa's been retired for an amount of time now, eh? Like, don't try and jump on that to sort of swing yourself back in. I don't know. I've never been much of a Jimmy Manuwa fan.
I always thought he was kind of all right. He was here. I think he got a lot of hype more for being English than anything else, and he gets starched off Volkan Ozdemir.
He's obviously very good. Like, I'm not going to turn around and say Jimmy Manuwa's not. I mean, as Jimmy Manuwa's the guy as a personality, like, who are you going to pick? Eh? You're going to pick Jimmy Manuwa over Paul if you're trying to have a sellable product, because it goes all the way back to what we said about Jake Paul. Eh? Like, Jake Paul's a sellable product, or the Paul brothers are a sellable product. They're not popular because they're good at MMA or good at boxing. They're popular because they're sellable. Eh? Now, if you're good at MMA and sellable, now we've got something. And that's Jimmy Manuwa. He was obviously great at MMA. I can't even remember what the KO was. Was it Volkan Ozdemir and then he retired? I'm sure it was.
So, because he was, if he'd beat Volkan, he was getting the Cormier fight, because that Volkan beat him, and then he get the Cormier fight, and Cormier kind of starched him.
It was quite a bad knockout, as I remember, actually.
I think it was really quick as well.
Mm-hmm. Ozdemir does that to everybody, though.
Oh, he's a danger in that division.
Worst nickname ever, though. Eh? Worst nickname ever. That no time nickname. Listen, mate, we all right to do a quick pause while I quickly tap into this? Is that all right?
That's fine. So just to kind of to move on a wee bit, because this is something else that came up. Like, do you have any traditions or kind of like superstitions for fight night and fight day?
Got one. I put a picture of my kids in my left glove. I put my son and my daughter. I've got one of my favourite photographs of them. I fold up a little picture, small as I can, and I get it put into my hand wrap and into the glove. And that's one of my traditions. Actually, my very first ever fight, it was a cage boxing amateur match. Like, it's a weird thing, like a 3 2-minute rounds. I remember before it, my son, he was only tiny at the time. He would have been like 3. And he made me like a wee good luck daddy card, and it's all old and faded in that now, but I keep that. I've got it in a special box in my bedroom, and I've always kept it. And I've always, on a fight day, I always get it out, stick it in the bag, and I take it with me. I've always done that as well. And that's my sort of 2 little traditions I've got. But I'm not really a superstitious guy. I just like to do that. Do you know what I mean? I don't have any sort of voodoo where I'm like, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't win the fight type of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really like to buy into that type of thing. But those are just 2 wee traditions that I've got that I like to do. It's nice to do it.
Because what does the kind of average fight week look for you? Like when you see up the Monday and you go into you're fighting on the Saturday, what does your week look like in the back to that?
Horrible, because I'm normally so far overweight that I'm just a horrible bastard to be around. I'm starving, I'm dehydrated because I've been too lazy to diet properly during the whole time. So I'm definitely, and my missus will attest to this, like, I'm a very difficult person to get along with during that week. And of course you're having like, not the last fight there, but the one prior to it, people were pulling out, had to get a last minute opponent. Like, you've got all these things to deal with as well as your normal life. Like, I've still got to go to my normal job. My kids still need picked up for school. Like, all these things, your life's got to continue as normal, and this has got to fit round it. And that at times you can get a bit short. I've got to really work on myself to make sure I'm not turning into somebody who's unbearable to live with. I'm not that extreme, but I try to make sure that I didn't get too agitated, because you could easily, especially if you're left with far too much weight to cut, which I have been more than enough times. I've always made weight, don't get me wrong. I've never missed, but I should be making it a lot easier for myself than I am. I make it far too difficult for myself, to be honest.
Is your weight, or I didn't mean to use the word favourite, because obviously it's no fun, but the way you choose to make weight is through salt baths?
That's right, aye. It's 100% humidity, because you're in the water. So it's just a roasting hot bath, as hot as you can cope with. Pour a kilo of Epsom salts into it and sit there. And rounds of doing it, and till you make till you've sucked enough of the water out of your body that you make weight. It's grim. I do about 20 pounds of water, So what's that in kilos? Like 8 kilos?
I think it's right? About that. Maybe I'm quite bad with the pounds to kilos. We'll just say 8 kilos, and if anybody on YouTube wants to correct us, we can fuck off.
2.2 pounds to a kilo. So 20 kilos of water usually I suck out and feel terrible. My missus moans at me, says, "Oh, don't do this to yourself. It's no health." I know it's not healthy. I shouldn't be doing it, but I do it, and I've always done it this way. I could be doing it better ways for sure, but here we are. And I'm saying I'm going to start taking my weight more seriously. I've got a guy doing all my macros and everything for me now. I hadn't said in, and I was going to wait for a wee transformation picture. Lewis Watt Fitness at Instagram. So he's at Lewis Watt. You'll see my before and after pictures. He's doing all my macro counting for me now. So we should be in a lot better shape. We should definitely be. The goal is to be within striking distance. So there's no more of this crazy water cut stuff, while still maintaining quite a lot of mass, quite a lot of lean mass. and taking a lot of the fat off. And we should hopefully be looking to go into this fight. Not hopefully looking. If I stick to this, then we will be going into this next fight a lot leaner. A lot leaner.
Because how long have you been with Lewis for, sorry?
Oh, mate, about 3 days.
Oh, 3 days, because I was going to ask, how does training feel? But 3 days, it'll just feel the exact same.
No change so far, no change. I feel fine. But I've never really went doing the like count my macros route before. I just always went with the less carbohydrates and more cardio, which is not the way to do it. You can manipulate it far easier if you're just disciplined. Like I say, my problem has always been a discipline problem. I didn't want to run. I didn't want to diet. I didn't want to do what's uncomfortable. And nobody does really, do they? But now I'm forcing myself. I've not got, like I say, right, I'm 32. How many fights are we going to get this year? Who knows? For all we know, COVID's going to explode over Christmas and New Year. I'm going to shut the first half of 2021 down again. And there's another massive lumpy time. So I'm just diving in heat first. I'm going 100% into all this now, everything. And my last stumbling block was my diet, for sure. And I joke about it on Instagram and things like that. And I just eat shit. And I've ate a bit of shite today, if I'm honest. But that's been my last problem area. Now, once I get on top of that, and then scheduling my workouts properly, I've cracked it. Hey, I'm fine. These are my two for me going forward. And I didn't want to say like going into 2021, I'm doing this. I've already started doing it. I'm limited to what I can do because of COVID, obviously, because the timetable's limited. You've got to watch what you do, watch what you say. It's a tricky time. So all I will say is I've changed training a bit. I've changed my diet enormously already in only a few days. And we'll be seeing, by the time I get into the next fight, we'll be seeing a far better version. I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Because like the thing with the diet and that, do you ever feel that's kind of a victim of Scottish culture? Because our culture, for the most part, isn't really good. It's chippies, it's takeaways after a night out on the bed.
Sure. For sure. The thing is, the example I always use is when I go to pick my son up for school, there's one of the other dads I talk to there. He's quite into bodybuilding, works in the gym, and we probably see one other dad who does a bit of training. Every other dad who's there picking up the kids, he's, you know what I mean? He hasn't set foot in a gym in a long time, if ever. And that's a big problem, eh? Like, we just didn't have this gym culture where we're saying to people like, look, you need to get in the gym, you need to take care of yourself. You know what I mean? Maybe COVID will do that, though. Maybe people are going to start taking their health more seriously. I doubt it. Once, eh?
I hope so. I hope that's kind of the because I think there is maybe a wee bit of catching up we've got to do. Because when you look at how the Americans, how they treat their athletes at a government scale, like if they get a young NFL guy that looks really promising, they pump so much money into them.
But it's not just that, like you say, with Scottish culture, diet-wise and stuff like that, we've got to be making better choices ourselves, eh? Yeah. There's no just, like, you can't be filling your kids with shite food and expecting to get anything back at them. And I'm just talking like concentration levels at school. It's basic stuff, eh? And I think people are really letting themselves down on it. I'm not saying you've got to be like popping with abs. I didn't look anything like that. I'm just saying, clean it up a bit. Do yourself a favour. You'll feel better for it. Do you know what I mean?
We'll move away from MMA for a wee bit. No doubt we'll come back to it. But one of the reasons I picked this day to kind of get you on was because there's a big football match coming up on Sunday. What's your thoughts for the Celtic Hearts game?
If you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd have said, if you'd asked me before Celtic played Lille, I'd have said, by the way, Hearts are going to do this. Right? But obviously, Hearts beating Queen of the South 6-1 was huge. But Celtic have turned a wee corner, I think. So I'd love to go, Hearts are just going to come out of it. Right. The truth is, This is my opinion. If Celtic score early, and I'm talking like if Celtic score in the first 10 minutes, it'll get bad. Really bad for Hearts. It could be silly. Honestly, I think that. I think if Celtic score once and they score early, Hearts start chasing the game and they start pulling them all over the park, Hearts are going to be in big trouble. But if they play like they played against Hibs, if they kind of try and rough Celtic up a bit, if they play quite, and I'm not saying dirty, but quite aggressively, and we maybe try and drag it into extra time and steal a goal. The truth is, I think Hearts' best chance to win is score a goal in extra time or win on penalties. That's what I think now. If you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd have said, I think they'll do this. And I think they'll win 2-1. No, now I'm saying steal a goal in extra time or win on penalties. And I think it all comes down to what type of game Naismith and Craig Gordon have. I think Craig Gordon will have a great game. I think he'll have a great game.
That's my thinking. It just feels like he'll have a bit of a point to prove.
But he can have a great game and still concede goals. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
But I see on Twitter a lot of Celtic supporters saying like, the game on Sunday doesn't matter. It definitely matters. Like it's a cup final regardless. And I know Celtic have got a history of winning and they're accustomed to winning. If anything, that puts more pressure on them. Like, remember when Hibs beat Rangers in the Scottish Cup final? Rangers were like humiliated, eh?
Yeah.
To lose to Hibs in a game that you're supposed to just go out and just bury a wee team. You know what I mean? And Celtic will not be wanting that.
Neil Lennon definitely won't, because I think
Neil Lennon hates Hearts, mate.
Oh.
Neil Lennon, he loves to beat Hearts. I shouldn't say hates Hearts. He loves to beat Hearts. He loves to beat everyone, I'm sure. Like, I didn't follow the ins and outs of Celtic and I see the protest stuff and the banner stuff, and I didn't really have many thoughts about it either way. I think it's been unjustly vilified because of social media. Like, I think people have forgotten what used to happen at football games only 15, 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can remember going to football games with my dad and my dad getting lifted. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like a wee guy. I was just a wee guy and just getting back on the supporters bus with one of my pals' dads and making sure like he got me home. People just used to go to football games and be mental.
Because I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think everything does get intensified with social media, because I'm on a lot of the Celtic pages and there's been a lot of people in there, let's say, in the protests are like the most embarrassing thing that's happened to the club. And they're like that. Do you not remember that the fans in the jungle used to chuck bananas at what was that guy?
Ballers. His name was
stuff like
the
that.
thing is, that was a lot of clubs as well.
Yeah.
I spoke to my dad about that and I said, what was it the same when he came to Tynecastle? And he went, first game at Tynecastle, he said there was bananas getting chucked everywhere. Right? He's like, and it was just a done thing. He's like, and it was happening to him every stadium he went to. Well, wasn't he just like, it just happened at Parkhead and it just happened at Tynecastle? Fucking happening everywhere. And this is what people forget. Eh? Like, I can remember some of the flags you used to see. We didn't need to go into it on a podcast like this because I didn't want to start being like getting political and things like that and certain groups getting supported. But you know where I'm going with it when it comes to Celtic. Like, it's not a secret. No. Like, the songs have been the same songs for years. The flags have been the same flags for years. Now you didn't see them as much, but you used to just see them all the time. Like, there was, and that was at every club, every single team, every ground you went to had these elements. Like this Green Brigade thing, right? It's just fashionable. It's just a group of young guys who, for whatever reason, this is what they're into. Like, should they be vilified? Not really, because they're parting with their money. They're spending their money.
Because that's part of my issue with it as well. Like, they're always labelled as not real fans, and for that sounds really alien to me, because it's like these boys, like, you might disagree with maybe their political points or the points they make about the team, but they follow the team everywhere, but across the country, across Europe, spending all their money, like sacrificing so much to follow the team. Like, to label them not real fans is a bit.
Well, what is a real fan?
I know.
What is a real fan? Like, I love MMA. There's people who follow MMA far more religiously than me. Like, I like to think that I could converse with anybody in the talking about UFC and be very accurate and know what I'm talking about. And then I speak to some of these young guys and I go, fucking hell, like their encyclopedic knowledge of MMA is unbelievable. Does that make them a bigger fan than me? Does it? Because I've had MMA fights, does that mean I can turn around and say, no, I'm a bigger MMA fan than you because I actually do the sport? No, it doesn't. Like, it's so broad, eh? Where are you supposed to go with that? I think it's unfair, the way they've been treated. If Hearts win the cup final, I don't know what they're going to do then, because they're definitely going to do something. But
I think it'll be a bit insane to say the least.
We'll not take it well. Like I say, I hope for a Hearts win, right? But if it starts to go bad, if Celtic score early, I hope Hearts can stay composed and, like say, Naismith doesn't get sent off. You know what I mean? It doesn't descend into that, because you're definitely not going to win then. You know what I mean? Like I say, big performances for Naismith and Craig Gordon, I think, will be the difference for Hearts. I think I've got a good feeling about this could come back to haunt me. So I've got a great feeling that Craig Gordon's going to have a fantastic game. I hope he does. Craig Gordon's always been one of my standout Hearts players. I remember Craig Gordon's first ever game for Hearts was a friendly against either Sunderland or Southampton. I can't mind which it was. I was young. I was like 13 or 14 or something. And I remember going to the game and he came out, played in goals. So, to me, Craig Gordon is a Hearts man. He obviously played for Celtic, but he's a Hearts man. And I think I'll be mega, mega pleased for him just to put in a solid performance. But I think Hearts' best chance is extra time. Take them into deep water.
I would, as a Celtic fan, I would quite like Craig Gordon to have a good game as well. Obviously, I hope Celtic win, but I feel the way Craig Gordon was treated, especially by Celtic fans, was a bit unfair, because he was labelled shite. Like, he was the worst keeper there, and it's obviously, you're seeing that with Scott Bain that he wasn't. I think he was getting a lot of abuse flung at him on Twitter because he wanted more for the club than what he was getting. But money-wise, I think he wanted a wage rise, which the man's only get maybe one season left. I think that's very fair. He wants to take care of his family. Of
course. So, it's hard, because in Israel, he's come back to Hearts, he's been brilliant. So, I mean, it's the same. Have you ever had a job where you went there, you hated everyone and you were shite? You moved to a new job where you got on with everybody and it was brilliant. It's the best job you ever had. I've had loads like that. So I know exactly how it feels. Fuck, maybe he hated everybody. Maybe he didn't get on with anybody in the changing room. Maybe he had to just sit and fucking train by himself and eat lunch by himself. You didn't know. You didn't know what's going on. The thing is, it's a workplace just like any other workplace. Just because it's a football club doesn't mean it's not a place of work. Everybody might not get on.
No, that's a pretty fair analogy, to be fair.
That's how it looks now. It looks like nobody could give a fuck what Neil Lennon says.
That's always been my kind of thought under him. It seems, well, especially recently, it feels as if the players have kind of chucked it, because you're seeing the goals we're conceding, especially in Europe, and it's goals that teams that have chucked it under their manager concede. It's comical defensive errors, and it's something kind of needs to give, and it just feels at times that the board are trying to just do whatever they can to let Neil Lennon win his own treble, just so he can have that on his resume, like he won his own treble.
What is it if they win this Scottish Cup? Quadruple.
Aye, 4.
That's a lot. That's a lot of wins, That's a lot of trophies. That's a lot of trophies.
It's something that I don't think we'll ever see again in football.
I don't think so, mate. The amount of time that takes to create is enormous, and it was almost kind of like a perfect storm for it as well, with Rangers going away for a few seasons and things like that. It was sort of wide open for them, but that's where I think Celtic went wrong. They just took for granted that they were going to win everything, and they didn't put in the investment, and now you're seeing I didn't let them be fanny Rangers at all, but they're in a great position now and it's looking good for them. That doesn't mean it couldn't all change in 5 and 6 games. But at the minute, it looks how it looks, eh? Rangers are top of the league and it doesn't look like they're going anywhere.
They're definitely in that position of strength, which can make or break a team, in my opinion, because what Rangers are in the ascendancy, so essentially a lot of the pressure now is on them. And it's how you cope with that pressure, that will test a lot of their players' characters. Because I think it was last year, their captain, guy James Tavernier, he was out in the Rangers' view, saying that they don't handle pressure well. But now it's time to tell.
That's the thing, like Celtic are a team who are accustomed to winning, eh? If they come into the home straight and there's only a couple of games between it, I'd give it to Celtic because these players are used to being under that pressure, whereas it's been a long time since Rangers have had that.
Aye.
So you know, if we get down to the last three games, say, and there's only 3 points in it, I'd lean towards Celtic because they've been here before. They're used to winning. They're used to no cracking. But if Rangers open up a big enough win, they'll no need to worry about chucking a few games towards the end of the season. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that does happen, doesn't it? With everybody. Like, if you remember last year, Rangers lost 2 games to Hearts, who were fucking relegated. You know what I mean? Like, Hearts hadn't beat anybody. Hearts were getting pumped week in, week out, 2 games against Rangers and beat them both times.
They beat them in the cup, didn't they? They beat them in the cup and the league.
And the league. And within something like 2 weeks each other, something like that. So it does show you they can start feeling the pressure. Any team can start feeling the pressure, but if you've got a team who's not accustomed to the pressure, that's where they'll start to go away. But for me, it would be incredible if Hearts could win this. The team that was forced down by the SFA, for no reason, they didn't have to do that to Hearts. Could have finished the league. There was no need to finish the league. It's embarrassing it never happened. A forced relegation, which I didn't argue with too much because Hearts up until that time had been appalling, eh? And obviously it took a long time for Craig Levein to leave, but I think Craig Levein genuinely believed he was doing the best possible job he could do for Hearts. Like, Craig Levein is a Hearts man, eh? There's no way he was going out there and going, do you know what, I'm going to try and make these cunts lose today. That's not what he was doing, eh? And I do believe he honestly thought, like, I could turn this around. I can fix this. I can fix this. And he obviously couldn't, eh?
Because I think it's that way as well. Like, if Hearts win at the weekend, you feel it's especially bad for the fans because they'll not be there and they'll not be able to celebrate. Like, I can imagine if Hearts went out and beat Celtic in the Scottish Cup final. Is it Gorgie Road?
Gorgie Road.
Gorgie Road, aye. That'd be absolutely fucking bouncing.
Mate, it was bouncing when Hearts beat Gretna in the Scottish Cup final. It doesn't take much excuse. Listen, and this is, see when Hibs beat Rangers in the Scottish Cup final, I got a load of grief online for saying, let the Hibs fans have their day. They've never had this before. There's none of them alive who can ever remember this happening. You've got to let them have their day, let them celebrate, let them enjoy it. Let them run on the park. They weren't being violent, mate. They were running on the park. So what? And you just think, like, when you're a Rangers and Celtic supporter, you're so accustomed to winning, so accustomed to beating everybody, just so accustomed to, like, these are big days out as a Hearts supporter. They're massive days out. Like, I can still say, I remember when, in a certain cup final, like, I remember Hearts winning the Scottish Cup final in '98 for the first time in however many years against Rangers. And, like, going with my dad, and like, every male in my family was out at that, and I was 9 years old. I remember, like, my dad was greeting, eh? It was enormous. People outside of Rangers and Celtic, I don't think people understand. If Hearts can do this on Sunday, it's going to be a massive moment, and it's just going to be a massive middle finger to the SFA as well. I'm saying that's, you know what I mean? Imagine relegating the team that went on to do this. Fuck them. That's just going to start going rage now. I mean, my heart rate, I've just checked my heart rate monitor. It's through the roof about COVID. It's through the roof about the SFA.
So to avoid getting banned for YouTube, we'll move on. Did you catch the fights at the weekend?
I did, mate. I did. I was at work, right? I was on night shift. I was sitting up watching them and I fell asleep. I'm not meant to sleep at work, obviously. If anybody's, my gaffer's actually my pal. So if you're watching this, Mikey, I wasn't sleeping. I was making sure everyone was all right. And I caught Tony Ferguson's fight, obviously, against Oliveira. I watched the main event the next morning, Moreno Figueiredo, and Junior against, what's the French guy? Kane? How do you say it?
Cairo Gain.
Gain. Sorry, you're right. Aye. So that's really all I saw. I didn't watch the whole card. And do you know what? I've been lazy and not caught up with it, to be honest. But I enjoyed the main event, mate. I thought it was brilliant. It's the first for that weight class, the first fight in a wee while that I've been really like, whoa, that was some fight. I'm looking forward to seeing them do it again, eh?
What did you think of the decision? Because I follow a lot of MMA Twitter, and a lot of them is putting the narrative that Moreno got robbed.
Nah, I didn't think Moreno got robbed. I think a draw was fair. Looking back now, see when I first watched it, I was like, I think Moreno's took this. And I said this. I said this to a couple of people. I thought Moreno had taken it. And I thought, especially with the point deduction, like he's done enough here. But then watching it again, it's Figueiredo who's advancing the whole time. He's walking forward. Even the fifth round, walking forward. If it hadn't been for the low blow, he'd have won the fight. Absolutely. And I think that was fair. I think that would have been fair. This is a draw-wise, I think the judges have got this one right. I think I'm okay with a draw. I think they were okay with a draw. They seemed okay with a draw. That's the big tell. See, when they announce it at the end and the two fighters sort of go, aye, they looked all right with it,
Because that was one of the very few kind of close judging decisions that I kind of sat and went, they've got that absolutely.
It was very close. There's no doubt it was very close. I'm not saying like Moreno was robbed. I'm not saying Figueiredo was robbed. I'm saying it looked like Figueiredo was pressing the action. He was deducted a point for a low blow, which he was. Like Moreno, I can't even remember how many takedowns. Did Moreno get 3 takedowns? But I don't think he done anything with them.
I think he did get a couple, and the ones that he did get the takedowns, I think they were the rounds that he won.
But there was no damage done off of them either, though. That's the thing, eh? Like, are we just saying that just getting a takedown and the boy gets back up, does that score you points or not? I don't know, mate. I didn't know what's going on. I don't know how the scoring seems to have improved. There was a couple of weeks ago, what was the fight? And it was like, what is going on here? Paul Felder. There was a mad one in the Paul Felder fight. Some of that scoring was wild. Who was the other fight? The scoring was fucking madness. I can't mind, but it seems as though this weekend just gone by, the scoring's been a lot better.
Was it the Nicholas Colby fight?
I think it might be.
He had one a couple of weeks ago, but I think he just took it. But one of the judges, it was very close. I think it was 2 rounds to 1, and one of the rounds he got hammered in. But one of the judges had him winning all 3 rounds.
Do you know what I mean? It's a mega problem, eh? That stuff's got to stop. I saw Bob Arum turning around and saying he's taking boxing out in Nevada now. Doesn't he care where he goes? He's not going back to Nevada with boxing because the scoring's so bad.
It's that way as well. It's not professional fighters that they have scoring it. It's folk on like an athletic commission, which
boxing judges, mate. Aye. Boxing judges. We need to. I don't know. I don't know how do you do it though? How are you? There's lots of methods, eh? The Joe Rogan method, eh? 100 people all buzz in. Who do you think won the race?
I would quite like to see, especially in MMA, because I think MMA, it's such a technical sport. You really need to know what you're seeing to kind of judge it fairly, and it's so kind of cutthroat. And when you're dealing with guys' careers, like, because we've seen it the last week with the amount of fighters that have been cut, like a win or loss can really change where you're.
Even if you win, you might still get cut. They might just still be like, nah, see you. Wasn't an entertaining enough win. That's how they used to be, though. It used to be ruthless, mate. It used to be you lost 2 fights back to back in the UFC. You were gone. You were away. 2 fights in the UFC, you're gone, mate. You're out there. So, I'm not shocked, to be honest. This has been coming for a long time. It's the premier in my opinion, right, it's the premier sport in the world for a reason. And the premier sporting organisation is the UFC, and they're the premier sporting organisation because they're hire and fire, eh? Just like in the real world, or I say the real world, they're obviously the real world. But if you enter into the financial world, or if you enter into banking, if you enter into any of these businesses are hire and fire, eh? They've no got time for people who are not producing the goods. Produce the goods or you're going to go away.
No, absolutely.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right. But like you say, bad judging can affect somebody's career, mate. And it's not just because I think Dana White switched on enough to go, by the way, this guy got robbed there, I'm not cutting him. But say you're in line for a title shot, you go back to the back of the queue now, eh? Like Tony Ferguson, had he beat Gaethje, he was next up for the fight with Khabib, eh?
Yeah.
So now he's lost to Khabib. Now he's lost to Gaethje. He's lost to Oliveira emphatically. He's away back to the back of the queue now.
It's that way as well. He's lost 2 fights, and I think he lost all 8 rounds, if I'm right. He get dominated both fights. He's, well, according to MMA Twitter, he's now washed up.
He's no what he'll still beat guys. Eh? To call him washed up, I think is unfair. But I don't think we'll see him performing at the level we've seen him perform at. Like, you've got 2 guys who've beat him now with 2 different blueprints. That's the thing. Like, Gaethje didn't do what Oliveira done. Do you know what I mean? Whereas for Tyron Woodley, the way he's been beaten, it's been the same way every time.
Aye.
You know what I mean? It's as if Tyron Woodley's formula has been unlocked and this is how you beat him. He's been beaten now 2 set, like the Justin Gaethje fight was just a kickboxing match, which he didn't win. It was still competitive. He was obviously brilliant. He was brilliant in the fight. But the Oliveira fight was it couldn't have been more one-sided, really. Eh? It was a manhandling. And I was mega shocked at it. I can't believe his arm didn't break. Yeah, it was good.
That was a horrible armbar.
I was sitting watching it and I was like, oh, it's going to go in. Is it went? It's one of them because you're like a guy like Tony Ferguson. He's going to let it snap.
Aye, he's that kind of absolute.
Just a man, just a maniac, eh? What do you do, mate?
It's quite funny as well because Chris, do you follow Chris Duncan on Instagram? Because he put like a similar picture of when he was in an armbar, and it looked like his was just about to break as well. And that just got me thinking of that image there, and it was.
Oh mate, mine honestly, mine gets a wee straighten and it's sore for days, eh? So you can imagine, I can only imagine how bad his arm was. That'll still be hurting now.
Oh, absolutely. He'll definitely be struggling with that one.
He's going to need some time off, eh? Did
you catch the Kevin Holland fight? That was a good one as well.
I did, mate, against Jacare.
I was shocked at that fight.
I knew who Kevin Holland was, right? But like I'd heard his name and I'd seen him when he came out, and I was like, oh, that's who he is there. Like I'm not like a big Kevin Holland fan or anything like that. I'm not going to make out like I'm some sort of I knew him. Mate, he mucked Jacare. Like you never thought that was coming, eh?
The position he was at as well, like, he was kind of on his back. And
I know.
That big hook.
Just a mad throwaway shot, mate. We see them all the time.
And that's putting him in a really good position now. Like everyone's kind of talking about Kevin Holland because he's fought 5 times in the year. Everybody's kind of talking because he's fresh, and everyone said, no, his performances this year has been good.
I've seen him asked to fight Chimaev.
Aye, he wanted to fight Chimaev on Saturday.
Aye. How mad is that, eh? Imagine they did that, though. Why not? See if it could have been done. I think Dana White would go, aye, let's do it.
I don't see any reason why not. Chimaev, he was training for the Edwards fight, which was supposed to be this weekend, which I thought was strange the UFC making that fight, personally, because I think that's not to say Chimaev's no great. He obviously has a great fighter and he's looked amazing, but I think it's quite, it's a harsh word to use, but I feel it's quite disrespectful to Leon Edwards. who's been one of the best welterweights in the world, to kind of put him in with a guy that's not really beaten in the top 15.
No. I think we spoke about it the last time as well, because Chimaev was so like in the spotlight last time. Chimaev was the guy, eh? And it's crazy how in only a few weeks that's faded. Like Chimaev's he's no the man now, eh? We're talking about other people now, which shows you how like quick it can change in MMA. But I thought the Leon Edwards fight, it felt quite forced, eh? Like Leon Edwards sort of got told, you're fighting this guy, and that's it. It wasn't like I'll fight Chimaev. It was like hey, Leon, you're fighting. By the way, you are fighting Chimaev. They took his rank away from him, and like
it was very harsh the way they done it. And I know they were saying that he wasn't wanting to fight, but I don't know. Dana White kind of says that about every. That's kind of his calling when guys only fighting is they don't want to fight, whether that's true or not.
It's hard because we didn't know, eh? We didn't get to see the ins and outs. We don't know what's happening. It looked like some very strong arm
negotiation tactics.
Basically, sorry, 2 seconds. I was just grabbing a bottle of water. You get told you're doing this, eh? End of. That's it. And that's how it looked to me. You're doing this. And he's sort of got no choice. But if he goes out and smokes some, then he can turn around and be like, can he ever do that to me again, eh?
But it's that way as well. Like, if he goes out and he smokes some, does he really gain anything? Or is it just you're the number 3 ranked welterweight in the world who's just the guy with 3 fights in the UFC?
I think he'll gain a lot of new fans from it. I think he'll gain fans if he beats Chimaev. A lot of people will go, hey, fucking good on Leon Edwards, like he got forced into that fight and then he derails the sort of Chimaev hype train. If it's a hype train, who knows? Maybe Chimaev's legit, mate. Maybe he goes out and he beats. Again, like, we can sit here back and forth and I think this and you think that, but here's why I think this. Mate, I didn't think that was going to happen to Jacare at the weekend.
No, I had Jacare, because I'm on that app, Verdict, and I had Jacare winning in the second round with a submission, but obviously...
I thought it would be like a normal Jacare, like get in, close the distance, take you down, go to work. And he sort of did. They ended up in the exchange against the cage, and then the fight's over. Do you know what I mean?
Holland just comfortable on the ground as well.
Chilled out. What coach is telling you to do that, eh? If you get taken down like that, start throwing some strikes for your back.
Especially when you're under one of the best grapplers in the world.
I know. Didn't he? Again, it goes back to what we said earlier. Like, just because he's Brazilian, mate, doesn't he make him? Do you know what I mean? Like, just because the world's caught up now, eh? The days of like Brazilian grappling dominance are over. We know what to do. We're all aware, eh? It's just the application. And certain guys are phenomenal at applying it. That's the only difference now. People aren't scared of the jiu-jitsu of Brazilians. Not that they disrespect it. It's just like ours is on a par. Why would it not be? What is this magic thing of being born in Brazil that makes you better at jiu-jitsu? That's not enough. You know what I mean? I think people are not frightened of Brazilians with high-level jiu-jitsu anymore, specifically for that. And these Brazilians have had to diversify their game. Aye,
because you seen that with Jose Aldo as well, because he was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Now he's he's got one of the most lethal leg kicks in the game.
I know. And they're like obviously one of the most dominant champs, 10 years or something as the champion, eh? Like that's crazy. That was crazy. But it's weird how this sort of Brazilian era of dominance is really outside of Amanda Nunes, who's still there.
Because you're seeing that with the Americans as well, because I think the only American champion left is Stipe, which for the UFC is very strange.
Aye, because light heavyweight's Yan now, obviously. Aye. Well, come on. Well, where does Usman claim?
I think he claims to be Nigerian.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I've no problem with that. I've no problem with that.
Aye.
I think, and obviously, Stylebenders. Well, does he claim New Zealand or both?
I think they've got the New Zealand flag under him on their sure.
Because I know he always likes to kind of pay homage to Nigeria as well, but I think he does see himself as a New Zealander too, eh?
I think he's opening up gyms over in Nigeria as well.
Is he? I see Francis Ngannou doing it as well, doing a lot of stuff there with kids, which is fucking incredible, mate. When you go over and you see these guys training and they're just basically out in a patch of mud, hitting pads, you just think to yourself, we've got it easy here, eh?
Because you've actually seen Francis Ngannou train, haven't you?
Aye, mate, aye.
What was that like? What was that
he's
like?
He's just a big monster of a guy, mate. He's just a big, huge guy. He's exactly as you would imagine. He's very friendly, really nice guy. But it's the same thing. Like, you forget people are famous. Francis Ngannou is just a guy who gets up and he goes to his work. Same as you do, same as I do. He just happens to work for the UFC. That's all it is. That's all the difference is. If you say, hey, can I get a picture of you? I got a picture of him. I went, hey, can I get a picture of you? He was like, not a problem. You know what I mean? Like, just a normal guy who happens to fight me. That was all. We never got to do any training with him or anything like that. That would have been, I can't even mind if he had a fight coming up or what. It was a while ago now. It was about 2017, that was. So I can't even remember off the top of my head. But, aye, very nice guy, mate. I think he trains between the PI. I'm trying to remember what the gym in Las Vegas is called that he would go to as well.
Is it the same that Joanna Calderwood goes to?
I think so. What's it called?
Oh, I can't remember because that's where Forrest Griffin was as well, I'm sure. I was looking.
That's going to annoy the life out of me now, and I can't even remember the name of it.
I know, because I was looking at this. I was looking at it a couple of weeks ago because I was just looking up Joanna Calderwood and I was looking where she was actually training because she's originally from Irvine, which is near where I was brought up. So I was seeing if she was still down there training. But
she's not going to come on your podcast.
I don't know actually. I'll need to
message her.
I'll put the feelers out there.
Yeah, you should.
Get her on that. That'd be pretty good. We're both born in Irvine. We've got that.
You've got what? Sorry.
We're both born in Irvine, so we've both got that.
But use that to just slide in. Use that as your opening line. Listen, Joanna, we're both born in Irvine. Come on my podcast.
Aye. Then
tell me when you're free.
Next thing you know, she'll be on.
Chatting away. Perfect. Right, mate. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do some work.
No worries, because I was just going to wrap it up there and just ask you a quick question. Like, what does the future look like for Ross Cooper? Like, where do you think you're going to be in 5 years?
5 years? Fuck, I'll be 38. Mate, this will sound cheesy, right? But I would love to be like teaching. I could see myself with my own wee branch of Hit Squad, Edinburgh Hit Squad, teaching adults, having a wee kids class on the Sunday in the gi. That's what I see for myself, mate. If I can get more fights, brilliant. Like I say, everything's been just knocked clean off the rails with COVID. So fight-wise, we don't know what's going to happen. Like I say, I'm diving into it head first. And in my mind, I'm fighting February 27th. And we're just going to go for there. And we're going to look to build momentum for there and see what happens. But 5 years down the line, mate, I'd love to be teaching classes and right through. Like, especially when I see the benefits of jiu-jitsu in my own kids. That for me is massive. And I just think, I can't believe everybody's not getting their children into this sport. I actually spoke to my son tonight about, he was talking about boxing. And I said, I didn't want you doing boxing, buddy. I'm like, I'm happy to let you do jiu-jitsu and MMA, but I didn't want you going to boxing because it's just too much like that old-fashioned blood and guts punched round the head. And that's not what I want. I would love to set up an environment where children can come train. Adults can train, mate. Look how many adults have got crippling confidence and anxiety issues because there's never been a time in their life where they were asked to step out their comfort zone. And that's something I always push on my kids. Like, can I step them out of this comfort zone and see no in a pushy way. Nobody gets forced to do anything, but I always try and like move that bar a wee bit more, a wee bit more, and a wee bit more, and see where they'll go away. And I look at the amount of adults, especially, who just they couldn't do this, they couldn't have a podcast, they couldn't speak in public, they couldn't speak into a camera, they couldn't stand up at their work and give a presentation because they've just never been pushed out that comfort zone. And I think that's where I'd like to go. I'd like to set my own thing up, and no so much for a fight gym. I just want to help people. I just want to help people get over, start feeling better, training, getting healthier, and start pushing this life, because this life has been so good to me, especially over the last 5-6 years. Like, and I'd love to just give a bit back, mate. But fight-wise, in my mind, I'm fighting February 27th, and I'm ploughing on for there. And that's where we are.
But we all hope the fight happens in the 27th, and if it's on pay-per-view, we'll be buying it for you.
No problem, mate. I'll be definitely shamelessly promoting it everywhere, so you'll definitely see it.
No worries. Now I'll let you get back to your work then, right?
Nice one, mate. I'll speak to you soon.
Right, speak to you later.
Bye-bye.